What's going on, people, and welcome to Ball Talk. This is one of our insight episodes. Boys, does everyone actually shower naked?
You're seeing a lot of things that I don't think the managers want you to see and realise that you can see.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sometimes there wouldn't even be enough left for everyone to eat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Normal. It's all geared up to make everything as comfortable and easy for you to go and perform in a match day. Cutting greens at Spurs. And
A bad touch is your fault.
Your fault.
Yeah.
On the bench, a lot of bitching.
Is there?
On the bench, yeah.
Does it get heated at training?
Challenges start going a bit overboard. Cool. Next time you get the ball flying through you and stuff like that. I've definitely been involved in those.
See, that's mental.
Names, but you can guess a few. They're miserable, aren't they?
They don't want. They don't enjoy.
I hope they
doing
don't.
their
And you
job.
watch this. Yeah. This guy follows you about until you can
So
actually
weird,
produce
isn't it?
Produce a wee, basically.
Yeah.
Who's asking these questions?
Yeah.
Out of all the things you could find out.
Who wants to know that?
Who doesn't want to know that?
Yeah.
What's going on, people, and welcome to Ball Talk. My name is Noah and I'm here with Lewis and Ken, both absolute ballers, and I'm very, very excited for today's episode. This is one of our insight episodes where the amateurs, are going to find out about professional football, non-league, national league, and everything that happens surrounding it.
Yeah.
Because we don't get an insight into what happens. So before we get on to this episode, which is going to be training and training grounds, everything that's around it, I need to know a bit about your footballing background, boys. So tell me, what's your career been like so far?
Yeah, well, for me, I've obviously played for Palace since I was 8 and been there all the way up until I was 23. So obviously experienced every single age group. But obviously I've been out probably 9 years injured in that 15-year period. So I've experienced a lot of age groups. I've experienced a lot of time out. But yeah, I've got a lot of stories and a lot of insights with the professional game. So
I'm sure you've experienced a lot of training grounds and physio rooms as well, then. Yeah.
a lot of 2 training grounds really.
Yeah.
All Crystal Palace and a lot of physio rooms, definitely, mate.
Perfect. Ken, what are we saying?
Well, not as one club as Lewis. I've been in and around various academies from a young age, notably Arsenal, Colchester. I've spent time training at academies as like Palace, Spurs. And then from after Colchester, where I signed my first pro, since then I've been in and around the National League South and North. So I've got experience of various training grounds from, professional academies to professional non-league clubs. So yeah, some interesting stories.
Wicked. I'm excited. And I play 7-a-side on Tuesday and have half a hamstring.
Oh yeah, we did ask you.
Yeah, there we go.
What's your career?
My career is players player, Sunday League, when I was about 17.
Nice.
That's the career.
Yeah, players player though. Don't
Beautiful.
get much better.
I've not seen one physio room, one ice bath.
Yeah.
So I need to ask you questions. We're going to talk about everything, right? The last question, does everyone actually shower naked? We'll get to that one. But first, tell us all about elite level training grounds, facilities, staff, things we kind of might not know.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're basically, I can only speak from Crystal Palace, but they're basically like a 5-star resort at the moment.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you've got a member of staff for every single part of your life within football. Even outside of football, they look after you. You go in there and it generally is like you've walked into a 5-star resort. You've got all the top facilities, and yeah, you could probably, I mean, there's beds there now, you could probably live there.
Really?
Yeah, it is like that.
What are the beds for?
I mean, the beds are for if you play in the evening and they want you in the morning, they'll basically have you training, you have a bit of lunch, and then you'll have a little kip in.
Do you have a nap?
You have a little kip at like 2-3 in the afternoon.
No way.
If you've got an evening kickoff, yeah, you would do that. Yeah,
I didn't
that's
know
quite
that.
Normal. Yeah, I mean, not every player does. It used to be more common when I was younger, actually.
Really?
But yeah, some players do like having a kit. There's 2 beds in sort of the kit room at Palace.
That's quality.
Yeah, so. What's the training ground at St Albans like?
St Albans, we currently train at a school in St Albans.
Yeah.
No beds.
Yeah.
You can't have a kid.
Mad.
Nah, not a 5-star resort. But no, it has everything you'd need. Like, it's got a gym. It's got obviously the training facilities. Yeah, I think when you go down the leagues, it stops becoming sort of a luxury place, but you get pretty much the basics that you need to improve every time you're at training. So yeah, that's the main difference.
They changed over the years. Obviously, you said you've been injured for a while, so you'll know the ins and outs of the training grounds.
Yeah.
Have they changed?
I mean, even going back 6-7 years when I was first going into full time, we basically used to train as I was a scholar, like under 17. We used to train at, it was pretty much like a goals. You know the goals where you get the Astro.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
basically like Palace hired out like half of that. we'd sort of share the canteen area. We should have like, we'd just be a bar. You can get like pints and stuff like that behind it. There'll be people the other side,
Quality.
Drinking alcohol or whatever, and we're there like training.
That's proper football, that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. in a elite environment, and then like the food would have just been sort of. So the academy was opposite the first team training ground. So the food would basically used to be like carried over in a few containers. Wouldn't be the freshest. Wouldn't be all the options they get. And then sometimes there wouldn't even be enough left for everyone to eat.
Oh wow!
But I mean, these days, if you go, the food's top notch, man. The chefs are top guys as well. But I mean, if I take you into like the canteen now at Palace, it is mad. You go in, it's like massive open plan. There's like the buffet hot food counter, which is like loads of different chicken, meat, fish. Have loads of vegan options, and then it'll have like your rice, your potatoes, your veg, and then you go away from that, you've got a massive salad bar, all the sauces, spices, everything. Little bit of, like, there'll be chessboards on like the lounge area. It's just top notch, mate. It is well good.
It's actually winding me up. How many meals do you yourself cook a week?
Do I cook?
Yeah.
I mean, when I was, you wouldn't cook a lot. To be fair, like you could go in, have breakfast, you'd have lunch, and then you'd actually take some of the food away, the lunch food or the afternoon food, in containers for dinner.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I could do none.
Absolute dream. Ken, what are we saying? Is it anything like that?
Currently, no. I cook all my own meals.
Proper footballer here.
Yeah, cook all my own meals. They when you're at a Premier League club like that, everything's done for you. There's zero excuse like to perform really. Everything's looked after. We don't necessarily have those kind of luxuries, but we do get help. We do get advice on what sort of meals we should be going for and that sort of stuff. So we know what we should be eating and what we shouldn't be eating. But yeah, the onus is all on us to prepare that.
Yeah.
No hot buffets, no beds.
Nah.
To be fair though, you say that it's buffets, but you can still, like, Fridays they'll maybe do like burgers or something, maybe.
Burgers?
Yeah, not really for the not really if you've got a Saturday game.
Yeah.
If Fridays for the 21s, let's say, who play like Tuesday, Wednesdays, they'll do they might do like burgers. So you still have to be sensible. It's like a buffet on holiday. It's basically like that. Just without the bad foods. If you can still overeat easily.
You're not having donuts for breakfast though, like the buffets on holiday.
No, not like that. No, the breakfast are top though. The eggs, man, that's beautiful.
It's making me annoyed. I want some food now. That's pretty handy. Would you say that's the most kind of the most useful thing at a training ground? Is that the best thing at a training ground, or is it something else?
Yeah, well, for me, the best thing at the training ground is the canteen, just because the food and like
Sounds good.
It's so nice, and it's like, honestly, it's like a 5-star restaurant inside a 5-star hotel. But the most useful thing's probably like the recovery facilities. So like the ice baths, if you've got like they've just sorted out the basically like a lap pool, and then they've got like the hot plunge pool, the cold plunge pool, sauna and steam. So that sort of stuff is the most useful, definitely. Because it gives you that extra couple of percent over players that maybe can't get it.
But do the quality of like the facilities like that actually make a difference? Because surely an ice bath is an ice bath, a sauna is a sauna, a shower is a shower. Do you notice a difference now than maybe, like you said, 6 years ago?
Yeah, it's more the fact that they want you to come into the training ground and everything be there for you, accessible, and you don't have to have an excuse to leave. They want you to be able to stay there all day, every day.
That's an interesting point.
That's basically what they want. So you don't have to go out and get up to no good, or go out and it's all geared up to make everything as comfortable and easy for you to go and perform in a match day. They've got unlimited amount of money, so they can chuck what they want at it, and they're spending a lot on the players. So they're going to make sure they have the best chance to perform on Saturday, where they get the rewards.
That's really interesting. They want to keep you there as long as possible.
Yeah.
Ken, facilities that you use, what's the best thing?
Well, throughout the years, I'd say the pitch for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a forward, so if I can just get a goalkeeper, and a bag of balls, that's where I've always taken advantage of. Obviously, I'm in the gym quite a bit as well, so the gym's important for me. So I'd go those two in terms of what you need, or what I need personally to improve as a player. Are
you using stuff like ice baths, saunas?
I can't do ice baths. No. That's not for me. But I use saunas. Yeah, I can't do ice baths.
That's actually very common amongst footballers, though. Most footballers can't do ice baths. They just don't.
Are you not like forced to?
No, you're not forced.
They'll like ask you to, like, but if you literally that's not for me. So I can't. I just tell whoever that I can't do it.
Yeah. To be fair, they do try. They really do try to like encourage them.
Yeah.
I see at Arsenal they have a point system, don't they?
Is it?
Do they?
Yeah. So they basically have so they'll have like 6 or 7 different recovery methods. I don't know, like protein shake or ice bath or recovery boots, and you have to hit a certain amount of points by the day.
That's so
if you
interesting.
don't like the ice baths, you might have to have a protein shake and get in the boots for half hour, or have a massage. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
So you've got. That's probably why Arsenal. They used to be known as a bit of an injury.
Yeah, absolutely.
Team, and now they
seem to have fixed
it. So maybe every team needs a point system.
That is genius.
Yeah.
But I love an ice bath. I'll get in the cold plunge after like a 2K walk.
What cold plunge are we talking? Where at? The gym?
No, on my terrace, got a little inflatable pool.
Yeah.
Chuck it out there.
Because I will say the automatic ones they have, they are
cold,
freezing.
Really,
honestly. Like you can't it's so much worse than if you get loads of water and just chuck bundles of ice in.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's hard to deal with.
How many days a week are you using ice bath?
I mean, if I was playing and obviously I'm injured at the moment. If I was playing, I'd probably, if it's a one game week, like 1 game a week, I'd probably just use it once.
Okay.
Maybe
after
twice.
a game.
Yeah.
That's really funny because I think, like I said, don't know anything about football facilities. I would think that using it every day after training, every day after a game.
Some people do that.
No, you can't. You
Really?
definitely can.
Yeah.
Just personal preference.
I think it gets more common the older you get as well, because what with ice baths, what I've been told is like it helps your recovery to play the next day, but it doesn't allow your muscles to adapt. So you wouldn't do it after a lower body gym session or something.
Oh, really?
You do it more for like, because then if you did it after that, it's sort of
really getting stronger.
Yeah. Stopping you getting stronger.
Right.
Your
Okay.
muscles to recover and be hurt basically.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. So it's more for like people who aren't really trying to get strong, or they need to play. They're feeling 100%
Game
for
in
the
2
game.
days' time. Yeah.
Really interesting. Is there anything that is? We've just talked about most useful and the best things. Is there anything that is just silly? Is it like we don't need that? That's like over the top. I guess it's more of a question for you, Lewis, because Premier League have got a lot of money.
Yeah.
Is there like a golf simulator that doesn't need to be there? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I'm not at Crystal Palace. I know there's stuff at like putting greens at Spurs, and I think they actually brought that in just for Harry Kane.
Really?
Yeah. And then there's probably golf simulators at some places. Yeah. The stuff that is needed but gets used very rarely. There's stuff like the anti-gravity treadmill, which you go on, and it's basically just like, if I'm coming back from a surgery, they need you to run it. They want you to run it holding 40 or 60% of your body weight. You can do that on that treadmill. But again, that probably costs like thousands and thousands,
really?
like tens of thousands. Yeah. So there's silly machines like that. Not silly, but
yeah, they don't get used
machines,
much. Yeah.
Outrageous machines like that.
And we're talking like ACL injuries for that, aren't we?
Yeah, just anything where you want to prepare yourself to go run on the grass.
Yeah.
You just want to strip it back a little bit the weeks before.
Have you used it?
Yeah, I've used it many times.
Is it cool?
It's
weird?
Cool the first time, yeah, and then you're just like, just get me back on the pitch.
Yeah, of course.
Because you go on it, and then as soon as they like deflate it, you'll just feel so heavy.
Really?
Yeah, it's like
that's bizarre.
Legs are like glued to
No
the
anti-gravity machines in St Albans.
Nah.
What's the best training ground that you've seen / used?
Tottenham. The best training ground is Tottenham in the Prem. Definitely.
Really?
Probably in Europe. Yeah, it's so good. Have you been there, Ken?
Yeah.
Have you?
I was going to say Spurs. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
what's so good
they,
about it?
It's new, isn't it? So I think they probably literally looked at everything around Europe and said, right, let's get all of that in.
All the best bits,
basically. Yeah. But yeah, it's a joke, really. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Spurs, you drive in and it's like really long, like car lane, surrounded by like perfectly mown and like cut grass, like you're on holiday in some like really like exotic European country. And then like there's like the pitches for the academy, and then you go closer, massive dome, massive building, and then that's just for the academy. And then you look to the right, and it's like you're on a cruise ship on the floor.
No way.
Yeah, it's mad. It is mad.
How many times have you both used it?
What, have I been there?
Yeah, how many times have you been there?
Would have been once a year since I was 9.
Really?
Until probably 18.
You look forward to... Oh, you haven't been in a while.
No, yeah, because you play the teams like every year. But then obviously since 1920, I've not been able to get back on the pitch as well. So
you've been there many times?
There about 4 or 5 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Different level, yeah?
It is, yeah. I'd go top 3 I've been to are probably Tottenham, Chelsea's up there. And I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably say Palace is up there now because it's like you said, it's the more recent ones are the best, the best training grounds.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that are playing for big team training grounds, but they're still 15, 20 years old.
Man United, maybe.
Yeah, that's more than 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. So yeah, probably them three.
Does it, Ken? When we're talking about like a Tottenham training ground, ridiculous. Do you look forward to going to them, or like you said, you just need a ball and a keeper? So does it matter too much to you?
You definitely, like, if you for whatever reason find yourself at those kind of training grounds, you definitely like think this is the level, isn't it? This is where you'd want to be playing football every day. It like, does it make a difference? It probably does, because at the end of the day, football's about literally small 1%, and like Lewis was saying, just if you can keep the players around for a bit longer to focus on their recovery, or if you've got literally anything, so that one player might use it once in a season, but that literally helps them get 3 points at the weekend, it probably does make a difference.
Means a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they, like you said, they have the money to spend on it, so it's an investment for them. It's not a waste, because it's the most important thing for a football club is the performance on a Saturday. So if you can literally improve that by 1%, then and you have the funds for it, and you should go for it. Obviously, the lower down the leagues you go, the training grounds aren't like massive, like luxury hotels or anything. They've literally probably just got the pitches, maybe a physio room, the gyms, and your changing rooms. But you still get the work in, because at the end of the day, as long as you do have pitches, footballs.
I think pitches actually is quite a big difference.
That's the big thing.
Like if you've got a bobbly pitch, it's a massive difference, I think.
That's probably the biggest difference. Like for me, let's say I go from a National League training ground to a Prem training ground. The biggest thing that I would take on from that is the pitch. Like,
really?
Yeah, like all the gym facilities is nice. The change rooms, it's all nice, but the biggest difference is the pitch, because you go on the pitch and then you're like, okay, there's actually no excuse here. It's a carpet. There's no balls, nothing.
A bad touch is your fault.
It's your fault.
Yeah.
It's your fault. Whereas you go down the leagues, and perhaps especially as it gets towards winter time and stuff, some of the pitches do become very difficult.
If you sky a shot, you can point to the ground, can't you?
Literally, and it probably is the ground's fault in those situations. But
as a striker.
But you go up and then you say literally, there's literally no excuse at top Premier League's training grounds. That's probably the biggest difference.
That's crazy, because the Sunday leaguers amongst us are used to playing on awful pitches.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And we do excuse it on the bubbles.
Thing is, though, with that, like Ken said, it doesn't. Pitches aside, the facilities don't make as big a difference as you think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Palace have brought through a lot of youngsters, like over the last 10, 15, 20 years. Good youngsters who have grown up on pitches that aren't flat, coming through like porter cabins, no gyms.
Yeah, you're right.
That's who they've brought Wilfried Zaha through. Nathaniel Klein, Victor Moses, Wan-Bissaka, Tyreek. All of them have come through not having these facilities. Yeah. I think a big thing for pumping money into facilities is to attract the players.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Okay, right.
It attracts, like, if I'm a young player who's 10,
you see Palace's training
who's
ground
wanted by
versus
Chelsea, Palace, City, who's got the best training ground that I want to spend every day?
Every day.
Because it is every day, isn't it? It's not the stadium or anything, isn't it? Yeah, it's so interesting.
Of course, you get the 1% and you get staff who are looking after you, and you feel, but you can definitely reach the same level without that.
I think that makes a bigger difference for the first team.
Yeah.
Like for the first team, those sort of things
when you need to perform 1%. Week in, week out.
Yeah.
For the academy, it probably doesn't make the biggest. Like if you have a football, you have good coaches, a good squad, you will produce players.
Yeah, of course.
But like you said, you won't attract them. If you're Palace and you're trying to attract the best 9-year-old in London, you need to showcase a good training ground for his parents.
Never even thought about that.
Otherwise, the Arsenals are just going to steal him. So that's probably the biggest thing. And then that is an investment, because if he becomes a £50 million asset in 10 years,
you've done your job, haven't you?
That's the thing.
That's the money back.
You need one or two of them every 10 years for a top Premier League club, and then it makes pumping that sort of money into a training ground worth it.
That's so
Palace
interesting.
Sold Aaron Wan-Bissaka for 50 million. They got him for nothing, other than paying his wages. Like they got him for nothing.
It's so interesting you say that. This is the best thing about these episodes, that I had no idea. Yeah. Like you say, like it's for obviously not for a 9-year-old, but like that's a big thing. Mental. Yeah, it's mental. Definitely. Manager's office. Yeah. Is it as scary as head teacher's office was at school? If you're getting called into the manager's office, have you done something wrong?
If you're getting called in, No, not necessarily.
Okay.
No, a lot of the time it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not necessarily. It could be called like I remember the first time I ever got called in. It was the first week of like the season.
You bricking it
when I was an under-17 player for the scholar a scholar at Palace, and he basically called me in to say I played every game in pre-season as a centre back, and he called me to say would I be comfortable playing. It was on the Monday. We had a game on the Saturday. Would I be comfortable playing as a centre mid on the weekend?
Johnny Stones.
So he basically just said like that you can get called in for little bits like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like very quite light-hearted and tactical and asking you about this or analysis, but a lot of the time it's quite a scary place to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there, when you walk in, are we seeing team sheets up on the board and you're like, oh, am I on there?
Yeah, you're seeing like almost a tactics board with names on pretty much. Yeah, that's basically what you're seeing.
And you're trying to keep eye contact with manager and you see your name in the top corner.
Yeah. You're seeing a lot of things that I don't think the managers want you to see and realise that you can see.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But a lot of the time it's players having to go to the manager's office when they're maybe not happy with not starting or they're not playing the right position. Someone else is getting more minutes than them. And that's when it can be a bit nervous. You know, you're building yourself up to go into the manager's office and say, right, I'm not happy with this. How's he playing ahead of me? But it's almost like you driving in that morning, you're like, I'm going to go in there, all guns blazing. Yeah. And then the time comes, you go, the time comes, you have breakfast, you think, oh shit, should I just do it tomorrow? And then they say to you like, oh, I'll give it 5 minutes, and it just like the momentum dies out of you, doesn't it? So it can be a tough place, but generally it's never too bad.
Yeah. Ken, any manager's office stories?
Yeah, well, I'd say, like Lewis said, probably the ones that are more nervy is probably when you're pulling the manager, when you're going after him. Because realistically, unless you're messing around at the training ground, or unless you're putting in really poor performances, he's not singling you out. And
Yeah.
Like he probably call you in for small things, like Lewis said. You know, can you play this position at the weekend, or I want you to do this. Like, it's rare that a gaffer's calling you in to literally hammer you unless you've done something that you know about. Like,
not to his office, like.
Yeah. He might get in the change room or on the training ground or after a game.
Analysis room.
Right, okay.
And the midfielders in or something.
Yeah.
But on a one-on-one, you'd know about it if it's something serious. Like, he's not. If he calls you, it's probably something very subtle that you don't have to worry about. But yeah, when you pull him, obviously, like Lewis said, depending on more often than not, it's to do with position you're playing or not playing, or what you have to do to get in the team, and you have to go about it the right way. You can't, as much as,
and it's normally been brewing for a few weeks because you never do.
Of course.
Like, some players do, and you know they usually get into problems because they're out of the team once and they're straight at the manager's door. But in general, most players, sensible players, will take a few weeks and like let it see how it plays out before going into a gaffer's office. And yeah, it's difficult because the manager is the manager. You can't come in screaming at him. You can't come you can't come in with any sort of, I don't know. I try not to go in with any type of attitude or any type of.
You have to know the manager tone as well. It makes a difference who you're dealing with. Like,
absolutely,
managers are different.
Yeah. You're both adults at the end of the day, aren't you? It's a chat. It's not. You don't.
It's
need to
a conversation.
Shout
No, it's a conversation. You're trying to point out whatever the point is that you want to come across in a polite way, but at the same time in a way that he knows that you're perhaps not happy with the situation.
Crazy.
And then try and get some sort of feedback based on that.
Does that happen a lot? Players going in? Because obviously there's always a bench. People are always on the bench.
Yeah.
So are they
There's a lot of shit
annoyed?
talking going on the bench, a lot of bitching.
Is there?
On the bench, yeah. We'll get onto that maybe another time. But
that's exactly what we want to hear.
Does it happen a lot? It doesn't happen too much.
No.
I think players are very aware that it's a competitive industry now, and they a lot, especially recently, they look at themselves first. Mate, do they? I don't know. I don't think it happens as much now. I don't think it happens as much because I think it's all a lot more civil, and the managers are all a lot more less harsh on the players. It's more like the cuddly approach rather than the like hair dryer treatment. So I don't think it happens as much. They're probably like, let's say I'm the manager and I've not started Ken. I probably would have spoke to Ken before I've even said the team and said like,
this is the reason,
those are the small things that mean that it's not like you don't usually have to go to the gaffer. Like, if a gaffer's a good manager, like you said, he probably would have said, let's say he's going to drop you, he probably would have pulled you before he's announced the team and said, look, you're going to be on the bench today, and give you whatever reason.
And that's what top managers do.
Top managers do that. That is the difference.
And they most likely say that if it was a one-off, because surely they're not going to come up to you and go, you're on the bench for the next month because you're not playing well.
So that would probably be, let's say you'd played the last 3 games and you're about to be on the bench this game, and you've been dropped. Obviously, if you've been on the bench, if you're a bench player in that squad, he's probably not coming to you every week to tell you, sorry, you're on the bench. But like if he's about to drop you or something, I think that's very good man management, because he's trying to avoid you coming into his office or causing bad team morale, because like you said about
he doesn't want shit talking on the bench.
Exactly. All of that, like a good man manager will try and basically lower the tension of a player. And if you're a player and a manager's come and spoken to you before he's announced the team and told you you're going to be on the bench, then you're never going to be buzzing about it, but you have to take that as a professional and say, okay, he wants to win this game more than anyone else, and he thinks that for whatever reason the squad he's putting out is going to be better equipped to win the game than you are. So you've just got to look at yourself and try and impact it off the bench, or try and improve in training in the next couple of days and get back in the team.
And certain managers can every time you speak to them, they can have you coming away from the conversation feeling like really good about yourself, really motivated. So it could even be a case where he spoke to a player, or the manager spoke to me and then he said, I'm not playing. And I've come away feeling really good because he's like, Lewis, like, we're not going to play you this game, but I really need you on Tuesday or something like that.
Okay.
Or, for this reason, and you're gonna be our star. Like little things like that can really make you. No one's ever said that to me, but they can't. Like, I know that goes on a lot, and that can just make you. That's a real skill of a manager to make you like the manager when they're telling you bad news.
Man management, as well as game management.
Of course.
And is that
you've got to be a psychologist as a manager? They're all world class coaches, but big part of the game is psychology, and that's where it's going with managers these days. Do
you think that happens more lower down the leagues? Because obviously every footballer wants to play, right? But if you sat on the bench at Arsenal, you're okay. Do you know what I mean? If someone's got to get up early on a Saturday and drive to Wales to play their National League game, and you're not getting played, are you more annoyed than maybe a Premier League player would be?
I think naturally all Premier League players, I was speaking about this with one of my mates the other day, I think they're all ambitious. They all want to have top careers. So like, no one's sitting on the bench at Arsenal thinking, I'm collecting 100 a week, 100k this week, and it's fine. Like they still have that. They absolutely have.
I was just about to say that.
They absolutely are fuming in the same way that you would be lower down the leagues. I'd say the only thing is, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, their lives are in check financially anyways, and like that probably is an easier pill to take. But in that moment, no one's thinking, all right, I'm just collecting my wage this week. Obviously lower down the leagues, obviously you get less and less money the lower you go, so you get the same type of difficulties that Prem players get in terms of maybe being dropped or traveling across the country and not playing that stuff, with less financial reward to go for it. But I'd say the attitudes are very similar. I think everyone that plays, because you got to think, people play in National League and stuff. There's a lot of players that have been in Premier League environments. There's a lot of players that have been throughout the Football League. There's a lot of players that are on their way up. So it's not like, obviously there's a difference in level, but the difference in terms of attitudes and professionalism isn't that big. Everyone's still got that same kind of.
That's really interesting.
Trying to basically have the best career possible.
Athletes are athletes.
Basically, yeah. And obviously there's a big difference in skill levels and stuff, but the mentality is probably not too different.
Right.
And that thing with the players on the bench and saying like, the people think they're collecting the money and they're fine not playing.
I've absolutely said that before, by the way.
Yeah, because you've got to think about it. All these players, to get to that level, if you were to look at their life story, they have to be a certain type of character to even reach that level.
Yeah.
You cannot just switch that off. It's like built in you. So they've gone through, they've probably gone through hell so many dark times just to get to there. They're winners. They're all super competitive. You're not going to just switch that off when they're sitting on the bench in the Premier League game. It's almost going to go the other way.
Also, we talk about their wages probably a lot more than they think about it. They've been earning money from 16, 17, 18. For them,
it's nothing.
This wage is what they earn, and that's what they know. So I don't think every week when they're getting paid, they're feeling like, oh, this is like, if one of us got their wages randomly, like it'd feel like a lot. But to them, that's what they get. That's what they're worth. So I think that's probably not in their heads as much, and they're thinking, I'm here to be a player. Every player has personal aspirations and where they want to go. So yeah, it's probably one of the biggest misconceptions around fans. I don't think any player goes home after being on the bench and satisfied.
That's just the frustration of fans when if they don't perform or they look like they don't perform body language, then it's an easy thing to go at.
100%. Like I said, I've definitely said that.
Yeah.
I've definitely said, he's laughing on the bench. Yeah.
It's easy to say, isn't it? And,
of course.
And it probably is true for some players, but just nowhere near as many as people.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Probably like 5% of players are like that.
Yeah.
And I reckon it's like it's built over time to get to that stage.
Yeah, it's not like
their characters had to change.
I see.
Yeah.
And probably happened more back in the day.
Yeah, maybe.
And now athletes are... when you talk about like sponsorships and things, you're only going to get that if you're playing and you're performing well. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So if you sat on the bench, you're losing a lot more than I think us fans see.
Yeah. I was even thinking about Eddie last season. Obviously, he signed that deal with Under Armour, right?
Yeah.
He was kind of like the face of them. And then at some point, he's not playing. And I started noticing like the stuff they were posting was him on the training ground. And I was thinking, this isn't good, is it? For a player. It's not good for Under Armour and it's not good for him. I don't know how long his deal is with them and that sort of stuff. But these are the things that players will be thinking about. He can't be on the bench for his stock, otherwise sponsorships go down and things like that. So
and I don't think that's the money he's worried about. It's more it's more like the embarrassment of they've took me as the face of them, and now they've just dropped me.
Yeah,
that would weigh on my mind. You'd feel bad for Under Armour, wouldn't you?
all the ads are from training, like
crazy.
None on the match day, like it's more the ego of the player than anything.
Yeah. So interesting. Us fans need to remember that they aren't perfect. Right, back to the training ground. What is a day of training? Let's say you've got a game at the weekend.
Yeah.
We are Tuesday. This is going to be for both of you. Ken, you first. What is your day looking like?
Well, currently at St Albans, we'd probably get there like just about 15 minutes ish before training.
Mm-hmm. What time training?
We're not full time. We train in the evenings.
Okay.
So like 6 o'clock ish. So we'd get there about 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
There is the option for players to get in the gym before and do a bit of pre-activation and that sort of stuff. But we get out. To be fair, the standard of training at St Albans is really good. Yeah, we got good players. We got a good coach. So in terms of actual training, let's say a Tuesday where we've got a game on a Saturday, it'll probably be more intense.
Yeah.
We'd probably get into some sort of warm-up, some S&C warm-up. Usually get into some type of possession drill and that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we usually play like waves of like 7 aside, 8 aside. And those are quite intense because you got forfeits if you lose, and it's like it's proper competitive. So that's probably the work, depending on how the week's gone, and maybe if the gaffer thinks we need to put in more work or whatever, we might do like a bit of a fitness type of session at the end. But at St Albans, it's always ball related. I've been at places where at the end of the session a gaffer will set up cones and it's got nothing to do with balls, and you're just running.
That's jarring, isn't it?
It's annoying. It's annoying because I don't know. Everyone's got their opinions. I don't think it's that necessary. Purely because I think the best teams and the best players are the best players on the ball.
Okay.
Obviously, fitness comes with you. You have to be fit to play football.
Yeah.
You have to be.
You get found out quick if you're not.
You have to be like, the best teams are also the fittest teams. But I think you can get really fit by doing sessions with the football.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
For example, those games I was just talking about, they're a blow. Like you're not chilling in those games. Like you're blowing. But
only
at the same
one person
time,
has the ball. There's 22.
Everyone's you're either pressing or you're marking or you're like it's intense. It's as close to a game scenario as you can get, anyways. And I don't think football fitness is about running laps or like that. It's about being fit in a game scenario. It's about being able to repeat sprints. It's about being able to cover 10, 12k on a steady pace over 90 minutes. So yeah, I think personally that's the best approach for training in my opinion. But every manager has their own ways.
And when it comes to those games, I think I've wanted to know this for ages. Are you training at a match level, or is there an element of like, I wouldn't want to get injured in training, that'd be really annoying?
I think it's a case by case.
Okay.
Players. I think as a whole, every player wants to be in the manager's plans on the weekend. So I don't think anyone like unless you're Eden Hazard or someone like that, like most where
you do get the old like Maverick who just won't.
Yeah, and then that player is usually so talented,
really,
that they get away with it. No one's doing that if they think it's going to impact their chance of being in the team on Saturday.
Does that annoy you if someone's so good that they don't have to train properly?
Doesn't really annoy me. I've encountered it once or twice. Yeah. I have encountered it once or twice at various clubs. Does it annoy me? It's not really my issue. Because at the end of the day, it's the gaffer's decision to pick a team, and you do appreciate that player's talent. Usually, that kind of player isn't just like they just produce a moment in training.
Right. Okay.
And it's like reminds everyone, okay, this is what he does.
Pretty good.
But I'd say most players put in a good amount. I'd say it's never 100%, just because subconsciously, when I say 100%, it's your 100% application to training, but it's not the same intensity as a game. I think on a Saturday with fans, cheering you on, plus the fact that there's 3 points on the line, you're never going to replicate that in training. But they're pretty intense. I personally like to take training quite seriously because I just see it as an opportunity to improve. That's what training is.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to get better as a player, to work on stuff. And if you've got aspirations to go up the leagues or to have a good career, you do need to train with intensity. You can't, you can't just turn up to training and go through the motions and improve as a player. But yeah, I think it's definitely case by case. It depends on the player.
So there's no decision in your head which is like, I might not be in this game, so I've got to try hard, or I don't want to get injured today because I want to play the weekend. There's none of that. You just go and play. I think it
depends. Let's say I have a little niggle that I'm aware of, then Physios I might take it easy. Then I'd probably take it easy. But let's say more often than not, if I'm like feeling good, I'm training, at pretty much max intensity. I might not be, slide tackling or like, that's probably the only difference.
I feel you.
Or going into mad
diving
risky
headers
challenge. That's probably the only difference. Like, I'm probably not doing a mad challenge with a goalkeeper or like but in terms of the pressing intensity, in terms of like running it behind, in terms of those sort of stuff, I'd say that's pretty much full out.
Right, okay. Interesting. Same with you?
What I've noticed, when you if you, for example, Crystal Palace first team, it's the intensity and the environment is so competitive.
Okay.
You can't really come off the gas in training, because if you do, one thing, you're going to get left behind. And if I'm on Ken's team in let's say a small-sided game, and I'm coming off it and letting them down, it's a proper ruthless environment where him and my teammates will have the massive ump with me, be like, oh, he's let us down in training today.
Wow.
And I'll maybe not speak to me at lunch. I'll sit on a different table maybe.
No way.
No, honestly, it can get like
that.
That's probably the biggest thing. I think obviously everyone has their own aspirations. Like there'll be days where I might come into training saying I need to improve today, I'm going to work hard. But there might be days where you're not necessarily in that mood.
Yeah.
But then you get into small-sided games and you look around, you got your teammates. You'll respect each other as players, and you don't want to be that player that lets your team down. It is just training, but it's so competitive. No one wants to lose in training. So you do run extra because you're like, I don't want it to be my fault. I'm not going to let my man go and score. That's probably the biggest thing. It's so competitive that you actually push each other to set the standard.
Yeah, wow.
I just want to paint this picture. Yeah, so let's say it's a really, really intense environment. Yeah, where you've got Premier League players all have massive egos.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's say I've been at Crystal Palace for a while, and someone gets bought for 30 million, and he comes in and he's in my position, and so I'm basically competing against him. There's no way. I've got a massive ego. I think I'm better than him. He's not starting against me. So it gets feisty in training. It does get really competitive, and it will be a bit like, if he lets me down or he's not performing, he's not really going to become one of the lads off the pitch.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like that.
So do you think if like a new signing comes in, there's a sort of, before you become mates, there's like a finding out period, and there's like a competitive, I'm going to make sure I'm better than you in these training positions, and then we can be mates if I know I'm playing first.
Yeah. That starts from under nines. If when you have players on trial, you get judged straight away for how well you play football. And,
I guess so, yeah.
And so you're judged on the pitch immediately. And like I said then, if you're not doing it on the pitch, you can tell if they're a player pretty soon. Within a day or two, you can tell if they're going to cope or not. And if they're not doing it on the pitch, they won't become part of the, you be nice to them and civil and all that, but they won't become part of your clique because they're not doing it on the pitch, and that's what you need to do at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's mad to think about that, and we'll come back to your training in a minute, Lewis. Whilst we're on that, Are you then, if a new signing comes in, obviously training first, are you trying to find them out? Are you fizzing a ball into their feet to see, let's see how good this guy is? Or are you just letting things happen naturally?
No, I always play with training as well. I play at a really intense pace. I always go to 100%. But yeah, like listen, if it's a striker and I'm a centre back, let's say, I'm definitely gonna maybe up how rough I'll be or up how intense I'm gonna be, just because you want them to come in and know. This happened a lot as well when we'd have players. Let's say I'm a under 21 and I'd have an under 18 come in to train out with us. You'd want them to know that, right, you're not, this ain't under 18s anymore. You've got to come up and it's under 21. So
I love that.
You need to up your standards.
I love it.
So yeah, you definitely do.
Hitting them hard.
You just, not hitting them. Listen, you definitely give them a few scrapes or two, maybe. But that's football, and that's what they need to, that's the environment they're in.
No defender's going to be nice to you, are they? So
absolutely not. No.
That makes complete sense. And on that, fights. Team fights, because you don't really see it happen on the pitch. Occasionally you see teammates arguing with each other. Does it get heated at training? Is there been any kind of instances where there's been a scrap because of training? You don't have to name names.
No, I've probably been involved in not scraps in terms of actually like a full-on blowout, but when like challenges start going a bit overboard and like someone gets you and you're like, cool, next time you get the ball, I'm flying through you and stuff like that. I've definitely been involved in those, and I've definitely seen training ground bust ups. Like you got to remember, basically the environment we've just been speaking about, that's going to boil over every now and then. It's going to boil over because you're competing for a place in the team. If you're playing small-sided games and someone lets you down, you know that can have an influence on your selection on a Saturday. You've got to think, like, let's say I'm in a losing team on a Tuesday in training,
or every day,
or every day, and because of that, I'm getting no service in training. I'm not scoring. The other team strikers getting all the goals because his team. That's gonna piss me off, and I'm gonna, you're gonna say something. Say something to my teammates, the ones that I feel like aren't pulling their weight. Obviously, you lose in training. It's not always because someone's not pulling their weight, and you take that on the chin. But let's say it feels like someone's not running or someone's not putting their body on the line and stuff. So all of these things will contribute every now and then to things boiling over. It doesn't happen that often because at the end of the day, everyone knows sort of the line. And everyone's usually pulling in the same direction. Everyone's teammates, not necessarily like super close buddies, but you're all like cool mates, and you're all on the same thing from the season or wherever you're at. So it doesn't happen that often, but given that environment we just described, every now and then it's going to boil over, and that's when it's maybe down to senior players in the squad or the gaffer to sort of maybe notice when this might boil over and interfere. But you definitely, training ground bust ups happen for sure.
Wild.
Yeah, and you can thing is, like we said, because their egos and when they're not playing, certain players when they're not playing can be real hard work around the training ground. But let's say he's not starting and he's talking to someone else who's not starting. They can be real cancers around the club. The fact that they're not starting, they can form a little clique, and if they're a big presence in the team, they might take a few other players with them, and then it's almost like the starting 11 versus the players who are not not in the team. And it can be like just a real bitchy environment. Real toxic. So that's when, listen, it can blow over a lot in training, and then you come up to lunch and it's fine. But there are times where it does. It does kick
carry
off
on. More. Do scraps happen, or arguments, conflicts, whatever? Do they happen more because of like a big challenge or bad challenge, or do they happen more because of competitiveness and like people not pulling their weight?
Probably both, but I've seen more from challenges.
Really?
But challenges come from competitiveness.
Yeah, which comes from competitiveness. But I've seen more from like someone goes in harder than, because you spoke earlier about, the players got 100%. I think one thing that's common is no one's flying into challenges the way you would on a Saturday, because you're not trying to injure your teammates. That's clear. So if someone feels like someone's basically flown into a tackle, they might react from that in a way that they wouldn't on a Saturday, because they feel like, this is my teammate, what are you doing? Yeah. So that's probably the most common way in which I've seen fights come about. But you do get the ones from literally competitiveness within a team where someone's letting you down, or like, you feel like someone's not pulling their weight. I've seen those as well, where like someone has a go and then the person gets defensive and starts arguing back. That's probably where it
Right,
stems
okay.
from. If you bite your lip and take it on the chin, which you should sometimes if you know you're in the wrong, a fight's not going to come about from that, but it usually comes when someone isn't ready to take that criticism from their teammate, and then it definitely can very quickly escalate.
It's mad.
Yeah.
You don't even think about these things. I mean, I've seen a couple of clips of, I think, was it Lacazette and Cedric?
Yeah.
And that's quite heated.
Yeah.
That's just, you got to think, that's only been caught because the cameras.
Yeah.
Like
It's not being caught.
Yeah, exactly. And no club's releasing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They show the pictures after training, obviously the happy ones and stuff. Let's say there was a bust up. They're not.
I'm going to put that on socials, are they?
No.
And also in a team like Arsenal, when they were doing well at that time, pretty much, but like a lot better than most, if you think about it. Like they were in the top 4 when we were progressing in the right direction. When you get teams that aren't like that, that are losing every week,
that's the worst ones.
That's when it really starts to boil over, because they're going out playing in front of their fans, and they're sometimes looking silly week in week out, and they love to shift the blame onto someone else. So that can translate into training.
And the pressure's just on. The morale's negative because they just keep losing. So I think that's probably the worst environment. I think in a winning team where you win most games,
don't really happen.
It's probably not happening as much because
Before we go on to questions we got from Instagram, we skipped over asking you about your training day because I was so interested in scraps.
The training day. So what, Tuesday we go for?
Yeah, we'll go Tuesday.
Yeah, so Tuesday, if there's a Saturday game, I mean, if you're talking like the first team, these days they have the option if they want to come in for breakfast. So that will probably be like 9.
Surely you're choosing breakfast.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Really?
That extra hour in bed, yeah. No, 9 till 10 probably. They'll have breakfast available, and then it'll generally be into the physio room for like any treatment, massages, tape, stuff like that. Then they'll go into the gym, which is the room next door, and it'll be like your sort of pre-activation work, like bands, foam rolling, stretching, getting the muscles ready and working so you can go out onto the training pitch. They normally go out about 11:30. Depends on a Tuesday, probably be an hour and a half. And then if it's during the middle of the season, it could be the case where they have lunch and go home.
Okay.
And they'll be home by they leave by 1:30, 2.
Right.
Or there could be a second session, whether that be like yoga or a core session or like something more technical, individual based out on the pitch. That they'd do in the afternoon, and then have more food and go.
Right.
And Tuesdays, from what I remember, it's normally bigger distances on Tuesdays.
Okay.
They cover bigger distances, and then Thursdays will be like a shorter, sharp, more intense.
So,
it's not
that
too
makes
bad.
sense. Do you listen to that like, all day training sounds good, or are you fine with training in the evening?
It's not all day training, by the way.
No, it's not.
All being in
one by one like that. That's the ambition.
There are certain players that do come in at 10:15 and leave before having literally as soon as training finishes, shower, don't even. So
really,
yeah.
See, that's mental.
Names, but you can guess a few.
That is mental to me because it's like it's a dream.
Yeah.
I want to be there like 9 hours a day.
Yeah.
I'm the same. Obviously, I've been floating in and out of full-time setups and stuff like that. So for myself, I always look at that as basically the same way you would look at it. It's like, that's the dream. How are you just running out of the training ground as soon as you can, as soon as you get the opportunity? Because but this is the thing, some of them are that's just normal to them. There's nothing special about the idea that they've got all these facilities and they just want to get home as quickly as possible. So but no, I definitely, you do look at that kind of full time setup and say, that's what you want to be in.
Bro, I'd be calling the family like coming for lunch. There's a buffet. It's mad.
I mean, it can change as well. Like pre-season, that you can be in really early until really, really late.
Yeah, right.
So, and some games that could be a case. Like let's say they lost 5-0 on Saturday, and then they come in on the Tuesday.
You got a heavy day.
One's depends on the manager, but no one's leaving at 1 in the afternoon straight after training. No way.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. We've got Insta questions.
Yes.
Some of them are a bit strange, as you can see on the sheet.
Yeah.
First one, favourite/least favourite training drill?
I know my least favourite already.
What's that?
It's like you generally on a Friday or as close as you can before a game, just doing like shape work.
It's walking through.
Pretty much walking through like patterns of play, or for this set piece you're going to stand here, for this, for when we play out from the back you're just going to stand here. I know it's important, especially the playing out and the pressing.
Yeah.
It's just very boring.
Yeah, I know we're on camera. Are you 100% focused during that?
Well, the thing with footballers, they have an attention span of about 30 seconds. So especially the ones I've been around.
Yeah.
So it is a big task for the manager to sort of keep them there for 15, 20 minutes and keep them switched on.
Yeah.
So they generally have to get reminded before the game, the day before the game, 10 minutes before the game as well, 3 or 4 times.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's probably why they just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Proper drill it.
Because you do switch off in those sessions. Like he said, they're boring, and the manager knows. The manager must know that.
He probably doesn't want to do either. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
It needs to be done.
But it has to be done. It's not everyone, and that's the thing. Everyone knows it has to be done. You can't go on a Saturday and be well drilled without those kind of sessions. So that's probably the least favorite. Mixed it probably between that and like anything to do with crazy running.
I was just about to say bleep test, surely.
Yeah, anything like that. Obviously,
well. Sorry, on that, the shape work. It's even worse if you're not in the starting 11 because you're.
That's what I was gonna say.
You just have to watch from the side.
No, you're the mannequins. Like you're pretending
team.
to be the other team.
So I'm already not starting. I've already been told, right, Lewis, you're not good enough. You're not starting. Now I've got to go up against the team that are starting, who are with the ball, let's say playing out, walking through their patterns, and I've just got to stand. Lewis, when they pass there, you just have to move over there.
Mate, I'm not paying attention to that.
No, they don't. No one pays
attention.
You just do as soon as the gaffer says go here.
You almost try and
you
always try and mess it up a bit.
Throw a tackle in somewhere. Quality.
Yeah, no, that's definitely probably 10 times worse than doing the shape in the team.
I didn't even think that they would put like the subs as the other team.
They just filled another 11.
Do something,
as the opposition would set up usually, like they'd set them up in the same shape as what they're expecting to see, and
gold.
And they just walk through different patterns. So that's definitely the worst.
Okay, favourite?
My favourite, it's got to be small-sided games, really. So stuff like that. I do like a possession drill where it's almost like a box and it's just 2 teams keeping the ball.
Yeah.
But mine is small-sided games where the goals, full-size goals obviously, but it's close together, and it's one of them where you can get it off the keeper and you're in shooting range. Which I like because I'm normally getting off the keeper.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets normally at the end of training. Normally where it's obviously not as tactical and you can have a bit of fun and gets really competitive with them.
I thought you said like head tennis. I see like Arsenal playing head tennis on their Instagram and stuff.
I mean are
we not classing that as a drill?
No, you would, but it's just not competitive enough for me.
Really?
Yeah,
you need it?
Yeah, I think a lot of footballers need that competitive edge.
I'd be surprised if anyone said head tennis.
Really?
Like, it's fun, isn't it? But I don't think like you just leave it as that. I think that's almost not work.
Like, I get you.
Like you're having a kick about your mates. Like footballers do want to. I'd probably say any type of finishing drill.
Yeah, finishing drill.
Pass and lay off.
Yeah, because you do see training as an opportunity to get better. So you don't you're not going to be saying your favourite drill is head tennis because as much as it's fun, it's not. That's not what's preparing you for the weekend. You don't necessarily like the shape stuff because that's really boring. But if you're a striker and you're doing finishing, like that's match realistic, and it's enjoyable, and it's building that confidence you need for the weekend. Small-sided games are also a good one because as much as it's a small range, like it's competitive. It's basically condensed the pitch. It's basically condensed everything you do on an 11-side pitch into a small game. So you get loads of reps. If you're a striker going up against a centre half, you get that like
fast pace as well. Right?
It's intense. You get all the scenarios you'd get on a Saturday, but 10 times in the space of 10 minutes rather than once in the space of 10 minutes and stuff. So that's also pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, that sounds good. Are you doing anything like crossbar challenge?
That won't be nothing like organised like that. Really, it might be if some of the lads want to have a go after training. They might do a bit.
Yeah.
Will anyone do that?
Sometimes, finishing challenges or crossbar.
One touch, one bounce or anything
as well.
Oh yeah. Quality.
Every now and then you get that.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
This one's weird.
Yeah.
Do you have a proper shower or do you just rinse off?
Who's asking these questions? Out of all the things you could find out.
I know that is the thing they wanted to know. They were interested as well.
I wouldn't say it's an insight. It's more. They could say the same after the gym. It's something like that.
That is very true.
But it probably depends on the day. If you fancy a long shower or if you fancy a rinse.
Are they nice showers?
Yeah, they're very nice. Yeah.
Yours nice?
Yeah, do the job. Yeah.
They clean you.
They're a proper shower then, aren't we? Different staff.
Yeah.
Is there like something you've got a favourite member of staff, a good story about staff, or is there a member of staff that I would have no idea that would be there? Because we know you've got nutritionists, massage therapists.
Do you know everyone's names?
Yeah, I'll know everyone's names. Yeah,
that was a good test.
Yeah, I would know everyone's
good person.
Names. I wouldn't know all the cleaners' names, which sounds bad, but there's so many of them.
Really?
Yeah. But I don't know, member of staffs, there's like, you've obviously got the coaches, their assistants, you've got the analysis side of that, then you've got the strength and conditioning people who would almost do the warm-ups before your training. You then got the strength and conditioning who would do the gym stuff inside the gym.
Do you have two separate ones for that?
Two separate ones. They're usually, a lot of the time, there'll be like some senior ones with a lot of younger lads or girls coming through college or university. And then you'd have the physios who are specific for treating. You'd have massage therapists, physios who are specific for on-pitch work, if that makes sense. So if I'm coming back from training and I'm running, there's physio specific for that. And then there's actually like physio, strength and conditioning specific for rehab, not just gym.
Okay, that's really interesting.
And like physio work in the gym. Then you've got chefs, nutritionists, like you said. Away from, you've got of course the people who are running the football club, like the receptionists, the admin, all that stuff. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. The chefs are always top notch. They have good crack and they're always a bit crazy.
Yeah.
But they're good. Yeah.
Ken,
anyone there you didn't know?
I didn't know that there would be a like specific physio for on pitch work.
Yeah.
I thought there's a few physios that would do everything.
There's even someone standing on the side of training with like an iPad, who would basically have live feeds of everyone's distances they're running.
No.
How quick they've run, their high speed distance, their like acceleration details.
But what's the point in that?
And they've got heart rate monitors on, so they can just tell so sometimes if I've run, let's say loads, the game just gone.
Yeah.
And they know I've come in, they'll test your muscle soreness in the morning. So I've come in on the Monday and I'm a bit sore. They'll say Lewis doesn't need to do as much high speed running today.
Oh wow.
They'll make sure once I've hit a certain amount, I'll stop. Or once I've not hit it, I'll do a top up after. Little stuff.
And
like
would they come to you in training if you're like absolutely busting a gut? Would they come to you and say, you've done 12 kilometres today, relax?
They wouldn't say, it would just get to a point. They wouldn't say like go easy. They'd just pull me out at some point if they want you to stop.
Oh wow, that's so interesting.
They plan a lot, so they'd be like, Lewis can do the warm up and the passing drill and the possession. He can't do the small sided games.
Mate, it's so intricate.
Mate, it's mad. Yeah, there's so many things now. There's so many staff.
Yeah.
How many staff are we talking, Ken?
Well, pretty much everything he's mentioned, but just not to that. Like we'd have one or two physios.
Yeah.
We'd have obviously one S&C coach that does like the warm ups, the gyms, everything. Obviously, there's the gaffer and his coaching team, goalkeeper coach, assistant manager, that sort of stuff. Who else did you mention?
There's obviously like the kit men as well.
Yeah. Obviously, those people. Yeah, but nothing. Well, we obviously don't have anyone you wouldn't picture.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a number of staff around the training ground for sure.
Who's your favourite member of staff? Shout them out on camera.
The thing is, you're never as close the closer it gets to the manager. You're never as open, I'd say. And not have as much banter because obviously it gets more serious.
Yeah.
The people I have the most banter with is, I mean, it all goes on in the physio room. So the physios quite a lot, but they also report to the manager. So you have to be careful. The chefs are probably the ones.
Just mad.
They're just a bit nuts. You're in breakfast and lunch for a decent amount of time.
That's true, yeah.
So you just have a good conversation. Sometimes they make stuff on demand for you as well. So
you want to be friendly with them.
They're just good fun to be around. Yeah. Kitmen are always a bit miserable.
Are they?
Yeah, they are a little bit. They always support the club, and they're always just, I don't know. They come in early, the earliest.
Oh, really?
They come in the earliest and leave the latest, and it is long hours.
Most kitmen do not want to.
They're miserable, aren't they?
They don't want. They don't enjoy.
I hope they don't.
Job.
And you watch this. Yeah.
I guess it's not the most fun job, like washing your dirty kit.
Forcing you to be there.
No, I do get it. Yeah.
No, you get some kitmen that.
Some basically I do have good pals who have been quite good. Yeah.
No, it's obviously depends on the individual.
Yeah, of course. Who's your favourite member of staff?
I'm pretty similar with all of them.
Yeah.
Like good, polite, chilled.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, nothing. I wouldn't say anyone I'm like super close to and have loads of banter with, but then at the same time, there's no one that I don't.
I tell you what, goalkeeping coaches are always quite a good laugh as well.
Are they?
That's the only one I was thinking. Especially because I'm usually working with the goalkeeper.
Striker, of course.
But just depends on the club as well.
The drivers maybe they're quite fun.
Drivers.
Yeah.
Drivers.
Because they just chill at the training ground all day, and then they'll normally drive in the morning and drive in the afternoon or evening.
That's a nice job, isn't it?
To come in. It's not. I don't know.
Oh, it's relaxing, isn't it?
It's not when you're driving them like
that is true.
Houses and all that. So.
That is very true. What happens if you don't turn up to training? We've got down here.
Yeah. I mean, it depends if you don't give a reason.
Yeah. So obviously you might be ill, right?
Yeah.
If you just didn't turn up one day,
Yeah.
would you be getting calls? Would people be at the door?
Have you seen that?
Yeah, there'd be people not turning up.
Yeah.
No reason, nothing. Just
Not a first team player, no.
Nah,
Okay.
I've not seen that at first level.
And I have like sort of under 18s, under 21s, and this never goes down well ever.
Really?
The thing is as well, you've got to actually from under 18s upwards, you've got to state if I'm not in, I need to state where I am. So if I to the Premier League because
what?
Yeah.
No.
Well, no, I state it to the club
for doping.
Yeah, for doping. So I state it to the
wow.
club, and the club have to state it to whoever Premier League the doping because they'll come in randomly a couple of times a season. The last time they come in, it was actually one of the names. 3 or 4 they'll pick out of the whole anyone who's a pro.
Yeah.
And they'll come in and you have to basically test the dope test. So you've got to stay with them until you can pee. So this guy follows you about until you can
So
actually
weird, isn't it?
produce a wee basically.
Yeah.
And then they've got to watch you do it. So if you haven't told them where you are, let's say I'm ill, I've got to tell them I'm at home because if they come in and they've called my name, Lewis, you're in for doping.
Would they come to you and then do it?
Yeah, so if I was in for doping, they'd come to my house, yeah.
Oh,
but
wow.
if I haven't stayed where I am and then they've called me into doping at the training ground, I'll get a ban. Because I've avoided the doping. It happened with Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so it is mad.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Anything like that with you?
What's the question about turning up to training?
Yeah. Do people just not turn up?
I've not seen that where someone doesn't give a reason. Probably at the academy level and stuff.
Right.
In first team, like it's work, isn't it? That's the way. That's the other thing. Like ultimately, before anything, it's a job, and you wouldn't just not turn up to work and not give a reason either. There's obviously people come seriously late or like for whatever reason, but I've not personally come across someone that just didn't turn up, didn't say anything to anyone.
Do you think it's more relaxed at your level than it is Premier League level? Like if someone didn't turn up, be like, you're a knob for doing that, but get back here now.
No. The only thing is obviously at a National League level, we don't have the same setup for the doping in terms of, I know throughout EFL clubs and Prem clubs you have that system where you have to basically let people know where you would be. Mm-hmm. We don't have that system, but other than that, it wouldn't be taken any lightly.
Really,
it's the same thing as what I was saying earlier. It's still football. It's just not necessarily the Prem worldwide and that, but it's still
high level, isn't it?
It's still high level football where you're paid to play the game. The gaff would be the first one on you, obviously. To understand where the hell you were. And why didn't you give? I think he'd just take it with like it's really disrespectful that you didn't even text and call or whatever. If, let's say there's a mad accident on a road or you've had a family issue or whatever and you called him, no gaffer's gonna turn around and get annoyed at you.
Okay,
but if you just literally didn't say anything, he'd be the first on to you to try and find out what happened. Why didn't you say anything?
Right, makes sense.
The players would probably give you a bit of a like,
who do you think you are?
Yeah, like a
really?
little bit of a like, what the hell are you doing? Like, how are you?
The word big time gets chucked about loads at football training.
Does it?
Yeah, or just at training grounds in general, like lightheartedly, but it does get chucked about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thing is, managers prep for their training sessions as well, and
that would be
coaching as well. Like, if the difference between having 15 or 16 players can just ruin a session.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
That would probably be what would annoy him the most. Because if you just told him 5 minutes before training, I can't be here. He'd then fix his numbers and training will go on as planned. But you could literally ruin a session by not turning up and not giving any reason.
Wow, that's deep. Right, that is pretty much. We'll wait for this question. That is pretty much the episode done.
Who wants to know that?
Who doesn't want to know that? Yeah. Anything else you want to add about training grounds that we haven't spoken about?
No, I think we've covered it all.
We've covered a lot.
Insight. If there's anything else that people want to know about, they can message the Instagram or message any of the socials.
Like these people have, yeah?
Yeah, like these people have with these crazy questions, which we'll get onto the last one. But and then we can always go over them at the start of the next episode.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, send us whatever you want. We'll ask it within reason, as you can see here. Last question. And just before I do, that has been the Insights episode of Ball Talk about training and training grounds. Thank you for listening. Boys, does everyone actually shower naked?
Everyone I've ever seen, yeah.
I'd say 90% of players, yeah.
Beautiful. What a way to end. Thanks, guys.
Lovely. That's a mad question.
Good way to end.